Some well-known lessons in the red pill community talk about maintaining your frame, your masculinity, working towards your goals, and not taking shit or accepting subpar behavior from the women you are with. In this video, I want to tie this all to spirituality, which is probably one of the most overlooked aspects in the community that is often just brushed over as an axis of development. This will be a bit more meta, as it will touch on the context from which all of your actions and choices should be carried out, rather than the content of the actual actions and choices. We talk about having a path and a purpose, working towards your goals, making women an addition to your life rather than a central focus, being able to walk away at any time, knowing and demonstrating your higher value. These are all fantastic concepts, but if you try to isolate them and work on them one by one, you cannot really connect the dots. The underlying reason that makes it instinctively possible to behave that way is to realize that you don't actually need anyone or anything, and you never have. That deep understanding will shift your mindset from follow rules and fake it till you make it to it's actually the only rational and natural way to operate. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism are the following ones. Truth of suffering: life is suffering. Or more precisely, life is incapable of being satisfactory. Truth of the cause of suffering: this dissatisfaction comes from craving, desire, attachment. Truth of the ending of suffering: the ending comes with renouncement and letting go. Truth of the path leading to the end of suffering: this describes the path to awakening. Now, before judging this as irrelevant or not practical enough, I cannot overstate how well this applies not only to game, but to everything in your life. You do not have to be awakened and attain the realization of no self to apply basic rules that Buddhism has been teaching for millennia. Everything is impermanent. That's one of the lessons Buddhism teaches you. You have probably heard the red pill phrase, "She's not yours, it's just your turn." It is exactly the same thing. Your life as a whole is impermanent. Any idea that you can win or lose something is an illusion. When you realize that, you can cut anyone or anything out of your life in a heartbeat. The issue is that we tend to solidify things. We tend to be in a good situation at some point in our lives, and we want this to be our new ground. When it starts slipping under our feet, we naturally want to cling to it. That's the natural resistance of your mind to the flow of life. When you realize that there is no actual ground to you, or to anything in your life, and that anything could change at any point, you are free. How can you chase a woman when you know you are chasing the illusion of ephemeral pleasure? I'm not saying cut women out of your life. I'm just saying that, whether she is here or not should never matter. Even if she is a 10 and you have emotionally invested in her for a while. It's more of the mindset of being happy if you get it and upset if you don't. That's the issue. The goal is just a landmark. The actual game is the fun of it. Detachment from the outcome of the game leads to total freedom. Your ego is an illusion. I have mentioned the realization of no self. See, Buddhism invites you to find out for yourself that the idea of I is an illusion. The ego is an illusion. There is no separation between what you consider you and the rest of the universe. That's probably a bit deep or strange to hear if you have never dabbled with spirituality. But once you understand and realize that on a deep level, how can any woman or anyone even hurt your ego? How can a shit test be successful if the shit test is aimed at an illusion? She is shit testing the image she has built of you in her mind. She has built an image of you as some object with a certain number of attributes, and she will test an attribute. If you let her challenge that attribute and take it personally, you will react from her frame. If you see a concept attacking a concept and completely detach yourself from the situation, the power is yours. Part of the reason people fail shit tests is because they reply from an emotional place. She hurt me, I have to get defensive or hurt her back. Everything game is teaching is just a byproduct of the concept of no self, except it is applied at a specific time, in a specific context, as a drilled reaction that becomes instinctive with practice. When you nag a woman, you typically hurt her ego on purpose in a playful way, to get an emotional reaction out of her. When she shit tests you, she is doing the same thing, but with the intent of trying to lower your value. It's all in a framework of emotion and ego. If you zoom out of it, it's just really funny to observe. You are not your emotions or your thoughts. Coming back to emotions, the only way you can act like an AFC is if you think you have anything to gain from a woman and that she is not giving it to you. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You should come to a point where you can mentally snap out of any negative mind space. Total clarity. When you do not identify with your mind, anyone trying to control your mind or manipulate you will simply fail. So you cannot gain anything. You cannot lose anything, you are not dependent on anyone else. Even the idea of who you are, your reputation, what people think about you, are all illusions. Life is simply a game in that matter. Game is a game inside the game. That's all it is. You can learn the rules from the bottom up, or realize the extent of the whole game and get the top to bottom picture. If there is no attachment, there is no leverage. This is true about anything in life. Anytime someone thinks they have power over you, because they can give you something you don't have, you have to come back to this mindset. Anything they can give you is seen as valuable here, and now because you are wired to run after material possessions or positive feelings. Detach yourself from these. If you can walk away and mean it in any situation in life, you have all the power. This is only possible to execute in a consistent manner when you have a deep understanding of your inner workings. Impermanence. And when you step out of yourself, now this will not teach you about female nature. You still have to understand the rules of the game, which is why the sidebar exists. But this is just to give you a complete, groundless perspective on life. You could be married for 15 years and walk away in a heartbeat. No attachment. Any feelings you have are just a certain type of pleasant vibrations. It does not mean that you should become numb. All of this is not to say that you have to close yourself off of emotions. You can ride the wave when it's here. It's the whole fun of the game. This is all to say that when the wave ends, even if it happens in a fraction of a second, you should just accept it and move on. Your capacity of accepting things as they are will make things way easier, whether they work out or not. In the same way you can ride an emotion, you can as easily detach from it. It comes in very handy in shit tests, and any situation where she is trying to elicit a negative emotion from you. Pause, regain clarity, zoom out of the situation, see it as a game, then act. If you are watching this, I highly encourage you to dive into spirituality. Learn about non-duality. Start to meditate and slowly shift your perspective. You'll know your place in the universe, and by definition, she will never know hers. She runs after you. She defines herself based off of you. You become the way she measures herself to her fellow girlfriends. It is the ultimate upper hand you could have, because it operates on an existential level. All the rest follows with practice. If you are reading this, I highly encourage you to dive into spirituality. Learn about non-duality. Start to meditate and slowly shift your perspective. You'll know your place in the universe, and by definition, she will never know hers. It is the ultimate upper hand you could have, because it operates on an existential level. All the rest follows with practice.